Non-doership is the realization that there's no separate doer here doing actions. There's no separate self that is in control of a separate life. And this is realized that there's no one that's controlling what is happening. Everything is just happening. Everything that is experienced as the present moment is just a happening. It's just arising out of the one source. And that one source is what you are. But what you aren't is a separate self somewhere here in the body that seems to be controlling all of the actions and all of the thinking. That is an illusionary self. There's just the activity of the one source that is happening. And that activity is happening through this body-mind, through that body-mind, through a squirrel, through a dog, through the wind, through the sun. Everything that you experience is actually the activity of the one. It's the whole. Now, why is this so liberating? Why is this so freeing? Because there's so much weight and heaviness and density and stress and seriousness and so much more when you believe to be a separate self that seems to be trying to control your life. If this realization is made that there's no separate doer, that there's no thinker that's thinking thoughts, there's no actor that's acting, there's no doer that's doing. When this is realized, well, this is so liberating. Because your entire life, you've always had the weight on your shoulders that you have to be supporting life, that there's a separate you that has a life. You don't have a life. You are life. There's only one life, and you are that. So when this is seen very clearly, that sense of doership falls away because we cannot find a separate doer. If we can't find a separate self, the separate me that I believe to be, if I can't find that one, then why am I believing that there is such thing as this separate doer that seems to create all of this stress and anxiety and worry and sadness and seriousness and all of this, what we call as our problems in life? Consider this, that all those problems are this idea of being the person. The person equals problems. See that there's no separate person, and you realize that there's no problems. All the problems disappear. All the problems disappear. It's like all the weight just gets lifted off your shoulders. It gets removed. It falls away. There's just lightness. Oh, wow. It's freedom. But not the freedom that you've been looking for, in the sense that you've been looking for freedom for the person. It's actually freedom from the person. That you're free from the story that you've created. You're free from all the concepts of being a good person or being a this or that. It's freedom from the role that you've been identified with. That when you are identified with being a somebody, going somewhere, it's freedom from that. That you're not a somebody. And you're not going anywhere. What a relief. It's a huge relief. Oh. Right? It's like playing in a movie and someone just relieves you from that role that you're playing. Hey, Mitch, yeah, you don't have to play that guy anymore. Yeah. Hey, oh, good. Because I was really, I wasn't liking that movie, right? I wasn't liking being a separate pretending to be a separate self. That's why things always feel very unnatural, feel very like contracted and compressed and dense. Something always just feels off in life. It's because you're being something that you're not. What you are is life. What you are is source. What you are is God. Call it whatever you want. What you are is pure consciousness. But when pure consciousness gets identified with being a separate character in a story that it is creating via imagination, and that story just feels like it's nothing but problem after problem after problem with a giant to-do list, and it has a past and it's going to a future and it's trying to be somebody, trying to get somewhere, trying to accomplish something. And it always just feels like everything that you try and achieve, you lose it. You lose it. You're trying to make everything permanent, but it always seems like nothing's lasting. And when you had enough of that, and at the time you consider that to be life, when you feel like, I just can't take it anymore, life is unbearable. The weight of life, the stress, it's not the weight of life. Life doesn't come with stress. You're creating the stress through the belief in being a separate self. You're creating the weight. That weight is the weight of an imagined character that you are believing to be. So when this is realized, it's like, it's more than transcending the story, because you just dissolve the character. There's no story without the character. Imagine a story without a main character. Can't. There can't be a story without the main character. And once you realize that there is no main character, that main character is nothing but imagination, then the story just dissolves. It just vanishes. The character dissolves, the story vanishes, and so do the problems. And that's the end of suffering. And that's the liberation. It's the liberation. You're being liberated from being what you are not. That's why it's so freeing. That's why it feels so caged. Until this is realized, that life feels so much like a prison. Because universal consciousness, has contracted itself and is believing itself to be a separate character. So it feels so compressed and closed, tight. Right? I just got to be this one. But the reality is it's everything. It's everything. So when this is realized, it's very liberating. It's being liberated from the you that you think you are. And then you realize what you really are. You realize what you really are. And then you see that everything is just happening. And you're living in this place of surrender, because you've seen it. It's like you've seen through the illusion. There's no separate doer. There's no separate doer. There's no separate thinker. There's no separate actor. It's like a movie that's being played for itself. There's no audience. And there's no one in each character. Before the realization you believe to be in your character. And after the realization, then you realize that you are all the characters. You are all the characters. You are that one source of activity, which is animating all of the characters. You are the one life that is dancing. Right? So it's freedom. It's freedom. And it's freedom in a non-conceptual way, because it's actually the freedom from all concepts. The freedom from all concepts. And when this is realized, it's just like, such a relief. Such a relief. Such a relief. It's all the weight, all the burden, everything that you're holding up disguises and masks and self-images and a story and role and an identity, all these things that we kind of hold up, you can say. Feels like we're holding it up to appear as something to others. And then you realize that there's no character there and there's no others. It's all you. And that's why it's so freeing. See you in the next one.